30 minutes of power.
Welcome to 30 Minutes of Power, a podcast dedicated to educate, encourage, and inspire godly people to use their power to empower others. Join your hosts, Jori O'Neill and Nicole Salter, as they share powerful insights on how you can use your God-given talents and gifts to make a positive impact in the world. Welcome to another lovely episode of 30 Minutes of Power, TOP, your one-stop shop for all things encouraging, motivating, entertaining, and inspirational. It's your girls, Jori O'Neill and Nicole Salter. Super excited to have you here. All right, so wanted to make sure we were here live broadcasting. So Nicole and I took a little bit of a hiatus from the podcast, and we are back streaming here live on YouTube for your enjoyment and your pleasure. We're super excited to start off the new year and just share a little bit about our journey. Some of you are seeing us for the first time. You have no idea who we are. We've been playing on a whole separate platform for the last 2 years. We've been going hard for 2 years with this podcast, about to break 100 episodes next month. So I'm super excited about that. We're going to give you a little background today on how we even got started in this whole podcast thing. Our podcast did not start off as a podcast. It was not. That was not our intention to start a podcast. Nicole,
Nope.
you want to share with the people what was the intention with starting this whole thing in the first place?
The first topic we were supposed to do was marriage. We were supposed to get on here and talk about the 20 plus years together that we have in marriage, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that was the beginning of it, right? And then it had jumped to devotions. And we were coming on here, we were doing devotions, we were sharing the word and encouraging people to make sure that they look it up and fact check us, right? Make sure that we're telling them the right thing. And then we turned into encouraging and helping people learn about who they are and sharing their stories. And I tell you, in everything that we did, in each step, which is what I love about us and our journey, not only were we focused on helping other people grow, but we were also focused on helping each other grow. And that's in all aspects of life. You know, we would have sidebars about child raising and just day-to-day life, scheduling, and whatever it is that we needed help with, right? We were there to help each other with those things. Although our main focus was to help others, we were also helping each other in the process.
And I think I'm gonna say even though we have a love and a devotion for the Bible and for God, I think we both came to the space of doing the devotionals from a different framework or a different angle or a different idea in terms of she said we initially started off with marriage, right? That was something that Nicole was already doing. Her and her husband were already counseling people in marriage in their church where they worshiped at. And for me, I was already doing Bible studies and training people and training women up in the scriptures. And so we were like, all right, how do we marry, right, these two spaces?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? And so we initially started with our first devotional. She did one on peace. And I did one on remember that one on peace?
Yes.
And I did mine on history determines her story. And so after I did a 5-part series Bible study, and people kept asking for the replay. They were like, "Where's the replay?" We're like, "What are you talking about? you got to be in the room. There's no replay.
Be with us.
When the Lord comes back, there's a replay. Like, you got to be in the room."
Right.
And so we were like, "What do you mean replay?" I'm like, "Hold on, ain't nobody. Did somebody leave me a check? Who is replaying this? Who is because it requires editing. It requires so much in
Mm-hmm.
the replay. And I was like, all right, if we do this, like, all right, fine. So then we start recording things on Zoom, and then we
Mm-hmm.
were sharing the replays, but the replay was so long. We're like, how in the world? I'm like, well, I don't want to be on YouTube. I don't want to be on YouTube. Like that was my initial thing was like, I don't want to be on YouTube. I don't want to be on YouTube. And here we are on YouTube.
On YouTube. And here we are on YouTube.
Steve, I was just obedient. We could have just been here 2 years ago.
I
Like, I'm
know, right?
blessing y'all and y'all
I
understanding and
know.
seeing the growth over time. But
Yes. God's
it's
time. God's time.
journey. I love that word you use, journey. I think this has definitely been a journey. Amidst the starting of the podcast, right? So that whole first series of the podcast, right? Boom, turn into the first book. And so from there, it was like, oh, you wrote a book, Jay. I want to write a book. So then Nicole goes,
Yep.
she writes a book. And so we started this coaching program called AZISI coaching. And it's as iron sharpens iron because honestly, that's what Nicole and I have been doing for one another. And not just the last 2 years of the podcast, just honestly, our entire friendship from the time we met
Yep.
in college
Yep.
now, just sharpening each other and trying to better one another. And it's never been competition. And that's the part I think of our friendship I love the most.
Yes.
That it's never about the competition. Like the competition takes a
Yes.
backseat for real, for real. Because at the end of the day, it's like I want to see my sis win. And I believe wholeheartedly like she wants to see me win. And so whatever we could do to help each other win, grow, thrive, like get better, get smarter, get faster, more efficient, more productive. That's what we share with each other. And we're both learners at heart. So there are things she learns, things that I learn, and then we just go ahead and share them and teach them to one another. And so I was super encouraged. She was like, Jay, like Jamel and I, that's her husband, we made our first, right? Look at that.
We
Look at that from A to Z, a
did.
children's poetry book. This is Nicole's first children's book. It's not her last. She gonna make some more. But I gotta show you something. The inside of this joint. Like, look at that. Nelson Mandela. I mean, look at this. Some beautiful photography in this piece. And so this is our first children's book, but that's all we've been doing. Just like, all right, so we learn how to do this thing, and now we're just gonna help each other do it and do it better. So my second
Yes.
book, How to Have a Revolutionary Walk with God, like this came from I think one of the talks that we did. One of the women was like, how do you read your Bible? Like how do you study? How do you pray? How do you grow in your relationship with God? And I think that was an interesting time, I think, for me to hear that there were so many people who didn't know how to do this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't understand what discipleship was, what discipleship looked like. And for me, because the church that I'm a part of, that's ingrained in us. Like from the time you get in there, everybody's using the word disciple, disciple, disciple.
Right.
Um, but learning what that is, and I think over the years, Nicole and I have done a decent job discipling each other, helping each other, correcting each other, both in our parenting, in our marriages, in our businesses, in our personal life. And so I'm excited to share today where God has taken us from those 2 years of faithfully showing up here on Mondays, right?
Yeah.
For a bit of initially devotion, then it turned into inspiration,
Yeah.
motivation, education, like all the Asians. We just
All of them. All the Asians. I like that. All the Asians.
I
We were
love
here.
that. And so one of the I think probably the most proud moment I've had in this journey hasn't even come from my own success. It's come from like watching Nicole blossom and flourish. She wrote a book about real estate. So she's a real estate agent in Florida. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. You need to call her. Go ahead and get your house. Everybody should move to Florida. It's warm. It's cold up here. It's warm down there. But she wrote a book And the book isn't even like I'm the best real estate agent in the universe. I'm amazing. The book was geared to help her client figure out the type of house that they wanted, the type of house that best suit them. Like I was like, you wrote a book that you can't even sell. Like you wrote, like it's
I know. I have to give it away for free. Yep.
her book is part of just who she is. It's an extension of the way that she loves people and how hospitable she is. She wrote a book, a whole book, just so she could give it away
Yep.
to potential clients. These aren't even people who don't sign with her. These are potential
True.
clients just so it can make their home buying experience easier, more fun, more streamlined. And I was just like, dang, like she out here writing books, trying to bless people. I was like, I'm so proud, but I'm so jelly. That's probably like the first time I was jelly. Like, I'm so proud, but I'm so jelly. I'm so proud, I'm so jelly. Um, she also wrote a book that is specifically geared toward prayers. Um, and this is prayers to help me be a better mom. 30 days of prayer. And I don't have any books like this. I don't have no prayer books. All my books are, no, I'm gonna say they a little on the theological side, right? Like you gonna learn a two, a three, a four, a five, a six, possibly uh, about
You're gonna learn a
right ecclesia and about hermeneutics.
lot.
Might
Mm-hmm.
learn a little bit
Yep.
about definitely probably not a little bit. You're gonna learn a good amount about apologetics, right? How to use the word of God correctly, how to
Mm-hmm.
defend your faith. What does it mean to follow Jesus, and why you should have adequate and accurate response when people ask you why you have the hope that you have, right? Um, but then she did it again. Did it again. And I was like, come on, Nicole, you got to stop. And this actually has helped. I I can't even tell you countless people in terms of their work days. Create it with you in mind. These journals are designed to help you stay focused, create a routine for your life, and be the best person you can be. It it is not properly marketed. I'm gonna be honest with you. This book, if you are in a work environment that is overwhelmed, if you are in a work environment that is full of stress, if you're in a work environment where you feel underappreciated, you must get this book. Like you must. It is a necessity. My sister, she got this book, and within about a week, she had dog-eared the book. It's like hanging on by a thread because she was just their prayers on one side. I want y'all to see the inside though. It's prayers on one side, and then there's an opportunity, right, for you to get into the word. So you got scriptures, you got prayers, you got an opportunity for you to journal and write down your thoughts. And it's you talking about a day? No. We're talking about a week? No. This has to be about a good 45 pages of just prayers and scripture about not being a better servant at work, but you having the right mindset to handle and endure the things that are happening at your workplace that maybe you can't control, maybe you don't like, um, and to be a little self-reflective and figure out like maybe you the cause of why this stuff is happening, right? But again, we started this podcast 2022 January, again out of a Bible study on Zoom. That we just got tired of sending women very large replays.
Yep. Yep.
And we were like, what if we start a podcast? What if we
Mm-hmm.
start a podcast? And I was like, podcast? I don't even know what about this podcast. I don't know that podcast. Where'd it come from? And I was convinced, I was like, we should be called like Women's Bible and Business Empowerment. W
Yes.
Babe. I I had my husband Ron. I had him like make all these like overlays and these templates. I'm like, you
Yes.
should be called W Babe, right? We should be called because we're babes and we're working women.
I remember.
Yeah. Do you remember what you came back and told me?
I remember relaying the message.
Ah, now she relaying the message. Now she doing the Lord's work. God told me.
I remember relaying the message that God said we should be called top 30 minutes of power because we want to give people enough information for them to be like, hey, you stop. Where'd you go? Come back. No, you come back next time. We'll be here.
Yeah, she threw that at me. Because
And
how
do
you
you
gonna
remember your response?
No, no, I don't. Was it
your
favorable?
response your response was no. No. Um wait. No. Wait. Wait. How about we pick this up next week? That's what your response was.
That sounds on track. Sounds on track. Um,
Oh my goodness. That was some fun times.
but you have to understand, like, I had this vision, this idea, this whole like scheme and theme and colors. I had a color palette, I had everything.
Yep.
And she's like, "Oh, the Lord." I was like, "The Lord." All right. All right. I mean, how you gonna fight with the Lord? Like you somebody
Right? You
come
can't.
at you and then you got some feedback. They're like the Lord. I'm like, oh, I can't fight with the Lord. Come on, the Lord. She's like, the Lord told me in a dream. I was like, in a dream?
You definitely can't come from that.
I was like, now you Joseph? Like the Lord told you in a dream.
I'm sure I got a coat of many colors somewhere in here.
You probably do. Um, whoo, sorry guys. Memories, man.
Yes.
So
Memories.
clearly the Lord won because this podcast is called
Yep. Because it's called Top.
Power. Um, and occasionally we do go over a little over 30 minutes. Today is going to be nice and squeaky clean 30 minutes. Um, but yes, that was a very interesting story about how we got our name. Some people ask me that. They're like, why's your podcast name Top? And I was like, well, the Lord told me to go.
The Lord gave it to us.
Wasn't our doing, it was the Lord. The Lord did it. So
It was. And AI wasn't big back then. So
nah,
we
we ain't
weren't
know
on
nothing about
AI looking
we ain't
for
know
other
nothing about no AI.
names.
No AI.
Nope.
Um, but 30 minutes of power. 30 minutes of power has been it's been fun. It's been a great journey. It's been a lot of learning curves.
Yep.
So that you're aware, people watching this, listening for the first time, this is like behind the scenes of 30 minutes of power. Uh, Outside of showing up and looking beautiful, um, that's where Nicole's involvement with the podcast.
Oh my goodness.
So true or not,
Well, I had to keep up with you. What happened to our white blazer season?
that season's over.
We were supposed to have a white blazer season. I went out. I was like, "Oh, Jori looked good in that white blazer. I gotta find me. I bought two. I
Wow.
got
You probably do have a coat of many colors in your closet. You
two."
probably do. No, I'm wearing in honor of my book. Can't see it in front of the microphone. I'm wearing my More Than Enough jacket.
Nice.
Yes. Was on a call today, earlier today. More Than Enough, if you don't know, first published book, not
Yeah.
self-published, not Amazon book, but Barnes and Noble's. international best-selling book.
I love
More than
it.
enough. Super excited about this. I have another book coming out next month. Uh, so the call I was on today was for that book, and it is called Before She Knew Jesus. Um,
Okay.
this book is a kick in the head because I share a lot of my childhood in terms of some of the major events that I saw God evident in my life and some unsavory behaviors that I was exhibiting when he showed up. And I ain't gonna say nothing past that. That's it. That's it, and that's all I'm gonna say right now. Um, but 30 Minutes of Power has been a space where we've been able to invite other people on to share their stories. We've done a lot of interviews. I was looking at how many interviews. I was like, dang, like it's a lot of women's who've come through here and been able to share their story and to give life to their story. And some of them, after sharing their story here with us, have honestly gone on and started writing books. A couple of them are published. One is in the process of, um, I think, doing a standalone book. She's part of this writing journey. Most recent podcast guest, Rachel Rector, she just released a book on bullying. Um, yeah, just I'm
None.
grateful that we've created a space, a safe space for women and men now. Because before when we initially started, it was definitely a
That's
women's podcast.
yeah.
I had this conversation with my dad the other day. He's like, "Oh, I thought it was a women's podcast." I'm like, "No, it started off as a women's podcast. We've graduated since then because we actually have a good number of male listeners, honestly, from overseas. So, shout out to all the listeners over in Thailand and Africa. Um, there's different countries in Africa, but I don't know them off the top of my head. And be honest with you, I'm gonna go back to the analytics. I'll figure it out next time. But they listen, and I'm grateful that we have people who are being encouraged and being blessed abroad, right? Not just here in the states. But where are we now, Nicole? What's going on now? What's the next? You see, I'm in a different space, guys. See, I'm in a different space, right? You don't see the little picture behind me no more, the big picture, and right, like we're in a different space. I'm in my podcast studio. This is the virtual slash solo episode space, and then there's a couch that's comfy for three on the other side of me. Beautiful backdrop, nice lighting. So I'm excited about bringing on my first guest on the podcast. I'm excited about this equipment, the situation setup I got going on right here, because this allows me to travel. So when I pull up to Florida,
That's right.
you don't have to miss us too much because we'll still be able to go live and
Yes.
bless you all.
Thank you for tuning in to 30 Minutes of Power. We hope you found today's episode informative and inspiring. To stay connected with us and continue the conversation, follow us on Instagram at 30 Minutes of Power or email us at azironsharpensiron@gmail.com. Don't forget to visit our website at azisi.org to learn more about our mission and how you can get involved. Remember, your power can make a difference in the world. Let's be folks out there using our power to empower others.
30 minutes of power.